Hi, everybody. This is Steve Hargadon. Welcome to the Future of Education interview series. It's February 4th, 2009, and tonight my guest is Carol Bruce. And the topic is how the Obama administration is looking at school reform. Hi, Carol, and welcome.
Hi there.
So tonight's a little special because I'm broadcasting live from the Blackwell Inn on the campus of Ohio State University, where I'm part of an advisory panel on the new Math and Science Middle School Pathways portal. So we have a live audience, not only online but in person here. We're very excited about tonight's discussion. We want to give thanks to KnowledgeWorks Foundation, who are the sponsors of this interview series, and thanks to Illuminate, who are supporting by providing the room and some of my time. Okay, Carol, why don't we start by having you tell a little bit about yourself?
Okay. Well, first of all, I went to Ohio State University, so this is pretty exciting that I can actually see people back in Columbus. I wanted to say that first. I'm a music teacher, and I have my bachelor's at Ohio State, and I have my master's at Northeastern Illinois here in Chicago. I've been teaching for 31 years. I teach 4th through 8th grade. I have taught kindergarten through 8th at some point in my life. But I just recently, over the last 18 months, things have just skyrocketed with all this social networking, and I've really done a lot of social networking, and I think that's the reason things have really happened in my life. I won the Teacher of the Year, Music Teacher of the Year here in Illinois last year, and this year I won the Golden Apple Award, which is a very prestigious award. They only pick 10 teachers, and actually they picked like 2 music teachers. So with that, it came a lot of really neat things, and that's how the Arnie Duncan connection came, because he is on the board of the Golden Apple. So he is directly involved with Golden Apple, and so that's how we are connected with the whole situation that's going on in Washington. So that's sort of my little background. I'm a vocal major, and I love teaching.
Okay, Carol, so thanks for that introduction. So now you know what we're going to talk about tonight. Before we do so, we wanted to give you a chance to learn a little bit about the Illuminate room that you're in. If you are participating live online and you want to ask a question, the group is small enough tonight, you certainly can raise your hand at any time. And you do that by clicking on the hand icon with the green up arrow. I'll click on it now, and you'll see a number appear by my name. That means I'm interested in asking a question. There you go. And you can click that again to lower your hand. If you want to indicate that you're happy about something, you can click the smiley face. The clapping hands say that you approve. We know that nobody will do a thumbs down or a confused face, but if you do, we'll know we need to pay attention to you. If you're having any trouble with your audio, you can run the Tools Audio Setup Wizard. And if you think that you might like to ask a question through the microphone in your computer, we recommend that you do run that Audio Setup Wizard to make sure that your mic is working correctly. A little plug for Illuminate. They do have a free 3 for free vRoom service, which you're welcome to check out at illuminate.com. Now, on this whiteboard that you see, and Carol's video may be in front of it, but you can move that video box by dragging it, you'll see a little wand with a red star at the end. And you can use that to make a mark on this map, and so let's find out where people are from. So go ahead and take that wand and then click on the map where you're from. Now, I've clicked California, which really isn't fair since I'm in Ohio, but okay, so it looks like we have somebody in Singapore, Malaysia. Singapore, hey, how about that? Well, we're certainly glad to have you here. Okay, so Carol, with that background, would you give us a little bit of an understanding of what you were expecting to find in the meeting and how they prepared you for that meeting on Inauguration Day?
Yes, we got questions that we were supposed to talk about and think about. And what was so exciting is when I got to the meeting, everyone was prepared. I mean, everyone had lists and had really done a lot of homework. And we all came from different backgrounds. Out of the 11 teachers and the one moderator, Dom Belamonte, all of us were Golden Apple winners, or there was a scholar. And a scholar is someone who, for 4 years, the Golden Apple Foundation, well, actually the state of Illinois pays for them to be a teacher, and then they go into a school of need. So there were administrators, there were people that were, way up in the Chicago Public Schools. There were people that were professors. So it was a lot of different people that were involved from different avenues. I was the only one that was a technology person, and I was the only musician or artist as part of the group too. So that was sort of a unique situation.
Now you were told that...
After we got...
Go ahead.
That's okay, go on.
Oh, keep going.
Oh, okay. As we got there, a light dinner, and what was so cool about it was we were not told in advance what to say. It was sort of ironic as they were setting this up and getting this ready, because Arne Duncan had asked, and actually I have something that President Obama actually said was sent. It was an email sent to Arne Duncan that was sent to us. And what they wanted to do was, we didn't discuss anything beforehand. We sat down and we talked education with not really knowing each other all that much, and just talking education for an hour and 17 minutes. And it was fascinating that they didn't give us an agenda, that we could just do what we want. We could just talk whatever we wanted to talk about. And I really appreciated that. It was funny because the week before, then Golden Apple called me, and then they were all nervous because they didn't know how to videotape it. So of course I had to come in and I got someone to videotape. But then after that, they had to figure out how to edit it. So I'm in the process of editing. I mean, we have a rough copy done, and it's already sent. But I'm working on a more elaborate one. It's funny how these in education today, people just think it gets done and they forget that. My audio is a little low. Should I turn it up a little bit? I'll turn it up a little bit. Let's see if this is a little better. Is that better? Is that better? Okay. Yes, it's hard to hear. That sounds good for me. Okay, good for me. Okay. So it's funny that here we are. We have the top educators, but it all comes down to whether you can actually have some 21st century skills. But putting a video together, being able to edit stuff, and being able to get it up on the web. So that's where we are right now. At least they're moving forward in that. And I know that the Obama administration really wants to look at the social networking and how it works in education. So that's sort of how it happened. But like I said, we sat down and we just talked. It was nothing prepared, nothing done. And I had my stuff, what I wanted to talk about, but we didn't discuss it beforehand. The cameras rolled and away we went.
You were expecting the secretary to be there. Was there a surprise that he wasn't? And didn't they read a letter from President Obama?
Yes, and I have it right here because I have the transcripts. You can on my blog. I have the entire transcript. We had to send it out. Like I said, the band director, he videotaped it. We had gotten an HD camera and we videotaped it. And so this is exactly word for word. And I was sitting right next to Dom, so I could see the email. So it was exactly right from Arne Duncan. He had sent it on. And this is the exact segment that he said in the speech. I'm going to read to you a segment of the speech from President Obama he made to his White House staff this afternoon. When he said this afternoon, this is the day after he was inaugurated, so less than 24 hours after he was inaugurated, this is what he said. Our commitment to openness means more than simply informing the American people about how decisions are made. It means recognizing that government does not have all of the answers and that public officials need to draw on what citizens know. And that is why, as of today, I am directing members of my administration to find new ways of tapping the knowledge and expertise of ordinary Americans. And here are the 4 groups that he wants to tap: scientists, civic leaders, educators, and entrepreneurs. Because the way to solve problems of our time as one nation is by involving the American people in shaping the politics that affects their lives. So I thought that was just fascinating, that there is going to be some type of roundtable type of thing in Washington. And of course, like I said, there's a lot of other things that are pressing right now, but that is on, that is what his edict is to his White House and to the whole, his staff that he had down. So, I mean, I found that just riveting. And it's part of the video. You'll see him reading the stuff on that. So there is going to be some convening in Washington to involve a lot of people to solve and do all this. So I found that fascinating. Another thing that was sort of cool was we talked a lot. Yes? I'm sorry. Yeah, I know, education, one of the four. I thought that was so cool. I mean, reading what Peggy said. What was also sort of neat is people even grasp that, as much as we can talk about education on a national level, we realize that we really are 50 states, and we have 50 different tests. We talk a lot about No Child Left Behind, and that, we don't want to lose local control. And as much as we want, to fix a lot of things, we have to realize that, what works well in North Dakota may not work well in Virginia. And that was one of the things that people talked about, is that we want to still keep our local control. So that's sort of how that is. What I think Arne Duncan is doing is he's reaching out to the different places that he knows already. And so we had like I said, the video is already at his, I think he has it already, and it's supposed to be going to the president. So it was sent down. I had to send it down to Tennessee, and they had to transcribe it. They transcribed it in less than 24 hours, and so they're still working on this. Like I said, I think they're still trying to move in. They're still trying to figure out where the pencils are, and there's a lot of other things that are pressing, and it's going to take a while. But I really think that there is going to be a time that we're all going to get to talk, and we're all going to get to see some movement and some change, I feel, in this in the whole idea of education. So
Carol, you had told me that we talked briefly after the meeting that you were the only one there talking tech. Did that surprise you?
Yes, I was. Yes, I was. In a little way, what's so funny about this this award I got it totally on my teaching music and my tech skills, because the people that interview and put you up for this award, it has nothing to do about tech. And when they found out that I had some tech skills, they were sort of amazed. And now I'm sort of like helping out. They're asking me about all the different social network stuff. They're asking me about we got to start a Facebook, and we got to start this, and we got to start that. And so I'm really excited that the foundation is actually looking at this, because the people that do these things are people that are usually retired, and to them, they don't see that that's important. I'm glad to see that, something that is a big organization like this really wants to move forward into the whole Web 2.0. And I sort of, some people afterwards, it was sort of cool. After we talked, there were 3 or 4 of the 11 that came up to me and were really fascinated by, this whole social networking thing. These are old-time Chicago public school teachers that are really just hardworking, and, their resources are so limited. And so to see that they're excited about this, I like I said, I was pleasantly surprised. I was also quite shocked that no one else had any tech skills and wasn't really talking tech. They were, most of their focus, because it is a city school and most of those things, it was about, how to deal with the dropout rate. And one teacher did, I talked about that we need to develop, not be so, I shouldn't say not so concerned, but we need to look at, everything revolves around college, and that there's other skills that we're going to need for the workforce. And one of the teachers says, I want every single one of my students to go to college. And I tried to explain to her that some of the skills that we need, necessarily don't prepare for the world. So she was one that I talked to afterwards too. But like I said, there was no one else that was tech. I pretty much ran all the tech stuff. So my engagement, I just was reading someone here, and that's exactly what I talked about. I said, the reason why they drop out is they don't see the purpose and the skills that they're teaching at school. It doesn't have the same purpose as what skills they're going to need in the workforce, and some of these students understand that. So, I'm reading the book, by the way, The Global Achievement Gap. It's a really neat book. So like I said, I'm glad to see that Golden Apple's moving ahead on this. I was very excited about this, and they're, they've started asking a lot of questions that are really good. So I think we take it one person at a time. And I put out a whole thing to my school even today that I was going to be on tonight, and some people were like, "Well, what's a Ning?" And at least people, I put so many memos out, and I'm sure all of you can talk about stories the same way. But it's just going to take a slow process, and I think that if we can. I talked about how Obama. This is the first time that a president has a digital a photo, and that the White House now has a YouTube. And they were sort of, oh, really? And they didn't know any of this. So, if we can get, like I said, some of these old time, or some of this people that don't know about this and get the voice out there, I think it's going to help. So that's just my 2 cents on that. Like I said, a lot of them are very focused on the dropout rates. I think and I see that as our biggest problem too. Any other questions?
Oh, we have plenty of questions. Hey, so
okay.
I read about half of that 25-page report that was on your blog, the transcript.
Right.
And interesting to me was I saw that theme. There were several themes that I saw there, but it seemed to me there was a real theme between believing that that coordinated curriculum would address the engagement and dropout issues. Did you have a feeling that was the group's consensus, that this was an issue of coordinated curriculum that was causing the lack of, not having coordinated curriculum was causing the lack of engagement and the dropout rate?
Well, you see, I think a lot of these teachers, they see as they want to have you probably saw that, age 3 to age 21. That's how they view the curriculum. And, I think some people sort of had a process that they were sort of taken back by that. I didn't get that sense in the engagement thing. I think they realize that they need to do something, and the engagement is, I feel, when I talk about how, the kids need to have, the kids are so used to videos. We need to have more videos. We need to have some more hands-on. They don't have a lot of resources. And I said, that's, I think, the biggest problem that's hitting our society is that you have one school like mine, we just put one-to-ones in. So everyone has their own laptop, and then you're dealing with some schools that have nothing, and they don't have any internet connection. And, that I think is going to be our biggest problem. And I think one teacher, I really have to hand it to her. I was glad to hear that she wasn't for having a standardized national curriculum. And I think we need to look that we can't. We know this as educators, being on the internet and doing all the stuff that we do, that we don't want to have a standardized, because we like the idea that we can do what we do that fits our kids. We understand that concept. Because we see what technology can do, what we can, have the kids do all different things. So I don't think that they're looking at an articulated curriculum. I think when you look at what the focus is going to be, these were the 4 things that were really the focus, was the expanded early education. I think that is going to be a big stress in this administration. The improved teacher preparation. I think one of the problems that we have is that we have dated teacher preparation. And that was one thing, and teacher quality. In the reduction, of course, we talked about the dropout rate, and then the increased access to college. I know that I've heard that a couple of times. Like I said, one of the women that was talking, and she was towards the end, you might not have seen it, she talked about that we don't want to lose local control. And I think that's going to be an important thing. We don't really want to lose local control. I have to say something about No Child Left Behind. I think that was the thing that was the most striking thing out of all of this. I put up an Education 2.0, and I had people comment about No Child Left Behind. And, it's funny, when you're in talking to teachers, that's all they talk about was, No Child Left Behind and how terrible it is and blah, blah, blah. But it was interesting. At this roundtable, people didn't really say that it was that bad of a thing. It needed to be tweaked more. And looking at what people made comments on my PB Wiki, they didn't really talk about it being that terrible, that we need to tweak it a little more. And so I thought that was the thing that really sort of struck me as being, really amazing, is that, that teachers really want to move forward. They don't want to get stuck that it doesn't work and we have to change it totally. I think they want to tweak it. I think we're going to see it tweaked. I think we're going to see it changed. I think that this idea that the subgroups puts different schools behind. I think a lot of stuff is so we'll see how that goes. That's the one thing that I got a lot out of it, was the No Child Left Behind. Really, people aren't ready to just throw it away. They really want to work with it, and so it'll be interesting to see. And of course, it costs so much money. That's the big thing in terms of No Child Left Behind. So it will be interesting to see how they go with that. And being an arts educator, with me, that's one of the things they're cutting, is all the arts in favor of all this stuff. So. Yeah, less paper and pencil. I just said it. Yeah, that's one of the things I talked about. No paper pencil.
So, Carol, I have this image. Go ahead.
Go on.
I was going to say, I have this mental image of you at this meeting, and like the Verizon ad, that behind you is this whole group of people in the digital world who are standing behind you. Now, what's interesting to me about your description of the event is that I'm hearing more of you than I actually read in the transcripts. And so I'm wondering, you may feel that you need to be a little bit careful here in terms of representing what took place, but I mean, we're all going to be able to see the video and can read the transcript.
Right.
But where do you feel like there were things that didn't come up that you really wished had, or where you feel like you have some understanding with your network that they're not seeing?
Well, first of all, there's 12 people, and all of us were dynamic. So, and they made a big point not to interrupt people, because they wanted to be very professional. So I didn't want to ram the nail too much. Ironically, I was sat, you'll see the video, I was sat right in front. I mean, I was front and center, and the woman that was on the other side of Dom, Belmonte is the CEO and president of Golden Apple. He ran the meeting. Before and afterwards, they were so appreciative that I could pull this whole thing together, because, the PR firm they hired, they didn't really know how to get it all put together. They knew they had to do this, but, I was on constant email and getting everything put together. So I think they realized that, they want to move this ahead in terms of the social media, but they don't know how to do it. And here's a big organization that wants to move ahead, and I think the administration feels the same way. I mean, I don't think that, the Chicago public and this whole Chicagoland area, with the suburbs excluded, really understands the whole social networking. And so I'm really hoping that I can, I got my foot in the door, my little toenail there. And on top of it, too, I was just inducted. I'm the last class inducted. So I don't want to sort of push myself in too fast. I want to work a little bit and sort of, like I said, I got my toenail in there. So I'm hoping to, move ahead a little bit. They were all set. They want me to set up all the different, social networking stuff. So I'm working on that right now, trying to get that going, because, so it's sort of daunting. I mean, I got enough on my plate. I'm working on shows, and now I'm working on this organization, trying to get, I've got their Twitter, I've got that sort of saved, I got the Plurk sort of saved, I'm working on the Facebook thing, so we can just get that all up and running. So I think that we want to have a whole Web 2.0 in this organization that I got in. And like I said, I'm a newbie in this organization, and I don't want to, I want to make sure I'm not pushing myself too fast. That's just my own, so I mean, they call me constantly, and they really want it, because there's no one else that has the tech skills. And there's no one, out of the 220 of us that are in it, there's no one that's social networking. I'm the only one in the group. I just set up a Ning with the 10 of us that won, and all of us are using it, so at least I got a little group going, and I hope to get the whole organization moving forward on that. And they realize they've got to do more. They realize that they've got to do more and get more out there. But the teachers in the group, like I said, their focus, a lot of them are dealing with, very, very poor environments, and dealing with, like I said, a lot of funding problems. And this is what Arne Duncan came from, is the funding problems. So it'll be interesting to see how it moves forward. I'm still busy editing this video and trying to get that all put together. And made extra copies. And I think there's going to be something in Washington here. So when I last talked to someone at Golden Apple yesterday, they talked about how you'll probably be going to Washington or whatever. And I was like, oh my, okay. So there's going to be a roundtable of some sort. If I hear anything, you'll be the first to know. So other than that, I haven't heard anything else. In terms of this document and what's going on, or the video that was done. So I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Oh, is there any roundtables going on around the country? I don't know. I mean, I haven't heard of anything. I don't know if anyone else has heard anything. Ours was convened right after the election, and like I said, this was sent to Don Belmonte to put this whole thing together. So also at the meeting was the IMSA. I don't know if anyone knows who IMSA is, but here in Illinois, it's the Science and Math Academy for the Gifted, and the director is also on the Golden Apple board, and Max McGee, and he used to be the state superintendent of the organization. I have to say, one of the benefactors came, and I thought he had just a brilliant idea for, they asked him if he had anything to add, and I thought this was brilliant. Reed Bagley, he said, in the years past, you have that little thing where you check for the presidential for $1. He goes, how much would we change that for education? That we make it for education and we don't make it for the election. That if every dollar that we could contribute for our education of our children. So I thought that was an interesting comment, is to really and everyone in the class, everyone in the group said, "Oh, what a great idea! Let's instead of because now they're not accepting money. I mean, Obama didn't accept money, so I thought that'd be great. So we donate, and everyone would donate money to education. We would have more for the lower income, because I think that's where we're seeing is the resources. Some of these teachers talking about how they wish they had the resources, and I think one of the things that came up about this too is the teacher education. That's one of the things I think we miss, that puzzle, and that piece in the puzzle is the teacher education part that we have to do. So, and that, and then it comes, today here I am trying to work and do everything, and everything's blocked. I think that's one of the two things that we're going to be, I think, faced as teachers is, the blocking issue and dealing with Web 2.0. And then our kids, I call it the 4 o'clock syndrome. At 4 o'clock, our kids are really learning. They can't wait to get on the internet and learn all the stuff that they thought about all day, but they're not allowed to learn because the teacher's standing up in front of the classroom. I talked about that, standing in the classroom in rows. And we still have teachers that teach that way, and we still have teachers that are taught that way. And so we have to really, really think differently in teacher education. One of the teachers thought about that instead of the teacher going in 9 weeks, they should be for a year, that because they really need to see the full year, that there's so many things that go on that, we have a full year. But that's going to be very expensive. I mean, for a teacher to be in a school all year, that's, do we make it like a 5-year? I mean, some of these teachers, teacher pay to be able to do that and take out loans and do all that, we have to reevaluate that. So that was one of the issues. One of the teachers, he's a professor at a neighboring university here. So he was talking about teacher reeducation.
Carol, so our video was a little bit off, so I wanted to make sure we were still real time with you. Can you think of ways in which your Verizon network could help? Are there other roundtable meetings being held? Are there ways in which we could be actively contributing to some sort of general awareness of things that we think are important in this discussion?
I wish. I mean, I briefly talked to Golden Apple yesterday. Was it yesterday? Yes, it was yesterday. I had to mail more DVDs out. And, she briefly talked about that there are going to be some, if I hear anything, trust me, I will immediately get things out. I'm thinking that there are going to be some, obviously what was said on this memo the first day, when he talks about how he's going to draw on public officials to draw on what we need, and scientifically educators. I mean, this is super exciting. I really think that there's going to be something that's going to be happening in Washington. And as soon as I do, Steve, I mean, I think we should really, this is where we can show the power of what we're doing. You know, we are the change. You know, we are the shift happens, and we are the ones that you know, use all this media, and our kids are just riveted by it and engaged in it. And these are the schools that are just exploding. And you know, it's interesting. At this foundation, they always have people go to the poor schools. My school has a lot of resources, and I said, you know, we need to get people into the schools where good things are happening. We're so caught up in all the bad things that are happening. You know, we need to get the good things out there. And one of our problems is PR. You know, we just don't have the good PR. We need to show some of the things that are going on. So I'm hoping that when there is something on Washington, and I think I'm almost positive there is, because they talk about it. I don't know when it's going to be convened. I mean, they're still trying to confirm some of the candidates for some of these things. You know, and Washington does move a little slower than we want. I'm hoping that we can show off the power of our network. You know, I know Obama, that's how he, I want to say, basically got elected. I mean, he used all of the new technologies. And, you know, we can show that we can do this too, and we can move education forward. And we can see the engagement in that. So I haven't heard anything, but as soon as I do, yeah, that's right. It's next going to be in D.C. at the end of June. That would be, I think, an excellent opportunity, I mean, for anything. I mean, I think that would be the time to see if we could try to get the, you know, Secretary of Education as part of that whole thing. I think that would be really, really cool. I mean, I think we should work on that. That should be our #1 goal, I think, since we're going to be in Washington, to see if we can engage and get the, you know, the education moving forward. So, I mean, it's been very interesting.
In reading the transcripts, it seemed to me another theme that kept coming up was the connection between secondary school and university level. Is that something that this group particularly focused on?
Well, you know, they do tons of work. They have the Scholars Program, and they have 125 teachers that win the award. I just was reading some of the, and what happens is 125 of them get education free for 4 years in the college, and they monitor them through the Golden Apple, and then they work in a school of need for 5 years. And they have a whole mentoring program for these new teachers. And every one of these teachers, they have not had any dropouts. They've done this now for, I think, 8 years, 5 years. And they have had a mentoring program all summer. For 5 weeks in the summer, they meet with these teachers. Even when they're in, you know, they're going to college, they have to go back to a college, Elmhurst College. And then 5 years after they're teachers, they have that whole connection. And so they're very, very interested in trying to move teacher education forward. So very progressive in that matter. And I think that we sometimes disconnect, you know, we do K-12 and then we sort of think of the college as separate. And I think this organization doesn't see it that way. They see it all as one. And, you know, I'm excited to see that. I mean, I've been asked to talk at a couple of colleges. It was funny, I went and talked to this one teacher. Professor was teaching a Web 2.0 class, and they invited me out to teach. And I looked at my little people out in front, and it was sort of ironic when I asked them. I said, well, you know, you all know what Twitter is, and you all know what, you know, this is. And I was amazed. These are college students. They had no clue. And that sort of blew me away. This is a very prestigious college here. And these college students, some of them don't know. You know, and so someone's raising their hand. So that was sort of shocking to me. I mean, I just assume, you know, I'm sort of old, and I'm just assuming that everyone under the age of, you know, 30 knows all about these things. So I was sort of amazed that they didn't know a lot of this stuff, you know, when I showed them all these different things. So that was interesting. Someone has a question. Someone raised their hand. I guess.
I think that was a bad click, she said. But I'll take the opportunity to ask another question. And then why don't we say that in about 5 or 10 minutes we'll start doing an audience Q&A, and our group here can be thinking about that, and those of you online as well. So I was reading a lot of your material on the flight out here, and I happened to be on Southwest Airlines. And it was just the juxtaposition of the material and Southwest, and thinking about how much fun it is to fly Southwest. They're still very safe. I trust them completely. Mm-hmm. But versus some of the other airlines I've flown recently, where you feel like,
oops, I lost your audio.
The control is so rigid that they're just not having any fun, and nobody's very nice to you. Is there any parallel there between what we sometimes think of in terms of school and the lack of local control?
Well, like I said, I'm very lucky. I'm in a very small district. I have major control over my stuff, so I can do what I want. But I know that there's other teachers. I was at dinner with some of my close friends last night, and we talked about how different education is today as it was years ago. And I think we are just in a testing frenzy. We're getting ready here in Illinois to do our ISAT testing, and that comes up in 3 weeks, and that's all we're doing right now is preparing for this test. And the kids are a little frenzied. I'm a little frenzied, and let me just get my call done here. So, but I'm sorry, I lost control. say again. No, I'm sorry.
We're talking about test frenzy.
Yeah, it is. It's a test frenzy right now, and it's all about if you don't make these certain points, you don't get your money, or you have problems, or you're on a watch list, and I don't know. I just we've got to change something in this text. It's gotten worse and worse, and I think it's ironic. We were talking, like I said, at dinner. A lot of it has to do because we can collect data so easily. We can collect data so easily that we've almost the computers. Because of computers, we have more testing, but we need to get away from the testing so we can do more computers. It's sort of interesting how the two are so intertwined.
So we lost you, or you stopped talking. But in either case, I'm going to fill the silence with what I hope will be my last question. Then we'll turn it over. So
and a lot of superintendents and love the data. They love looking at data. So no, I didn't stop talking. Okay.
Okay. So we talk about reforming the educational system, and if a system is a set of rules and policies designed to perpetuate something we think is being done well, is it really possible to reform a system? Meaning, are you just changing horses in the middle of a horse race? Do you think, after all has been said and done, that the Obama administration is really going to be able to change the system, or does that change need to come from somewhere else?
Personally, what I think it needs to come from somewhere else. Because I agree with you that it's a system. I mean, basically education is a state's in a local area. So it needs to come, I think, from us. I think we're the ones, and it's difficult. Like I said, in my little building that I'm trying to move up the mountain and trying to show people that, this is really cool. I mean, I presented last week at IMEA, and it was great because these people were all receptive, and it was so neat to be able to see people move ahead and realizing that they have control. They can, like you were talking, they have control to change. They don't have to wait for their administration to change. They can control. And I think that's what we have to do, is we have to empower other people to say, it's okay, I can change the course myself. And these are some things that you can do. Because I think they're just going to replace it with something else. It's going to be, the No Child Left Behind is going to be there, but it may be a different name. Like you said, the same system.
Well, let's ask our audience if they have any questions. I'm asking the group here, and we'll ask the online audience as well if there's anything they'd like to ask you.
Okay.
To do so, you can click the hand icon with the green arrow if you'd like to do it by mic, or you can put it in the chat.
Okay.
Are you seeing those questions from Connie and Jackie in the chat, Carol?
I don't see anything. I see now everyone keep quiet. I see in the chat, I see Portsmouth, Arnie wasn't at the meeting. Now everyone's keeping quiet. I don't see any questions.
I wonder if your chat isn't scrolled down. But I'll go ahead and ask. Connie Weber asks, do you see a swing away from emphasis on testing?
Now, you see, now we're still in the beginning ages of this new administration. There has been nothing out about them. I think they're still in meetings. So I can't say, what's going to happen on that. I mean, it's still, I think, in the early age of things of this. I know that Arnie Duncan has lived with No Child Left Behind. He's been an administrator that has worked through No Child Left Behind, and some of his writings have been that he wants to tweak it and change it, but that's his personal views. I do not really know what the global and the administration views are. So I'm sorry to say, to give you a non-answer, but that's that's sort of what I see. Because I read a lot about Arnie Duncan before I went to the meeting because I wanted to know where he stood.
So, Carol, we've got a question here.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Hi, Carol. My name is Steve Kroc.
Hi.
I'm an industry partner with our group.
Okay.
Thank you very much for your time and your insight.
Oh.
I have a question. You mentioned that that the Obama administration was interested in soliciting input from scientists, from civic leaders, from educators, and entrepreneurs.
Right.
As the conversation went on, did it sound as though it was talking to scientists to inform science policy, civic leaders to inform civic policy, educators to inform education policy, or did it sound as though their goal was to get input from all four of these to inform each of these? And I'm, of course, focused on education. And if you heard the latter, which I hope you did, what in the conversation led you to believe that they're thinking like that, and integrating the input for the sake of impacting education policy?
I think because this was like I said, I'm reading exactly what was in the email, and I was sitting right next to Dom, who had the email. What I got the idea is that this came right out of the gate. This was like he wanted this to be his opening thing to all of the White House staff, and he wanted to make sure that we're, he's openness to everything. Now, granted, it is something he wants to do, and whether, given the way government runs, it can be done, but it looks like there are going to be some roundtable and some type of discussions that are going to be taking place. Now, that's all I can say. I'm not privy to any of this. I'm sort of a newbie, like I said, in this organization, and I got my little toenail in there, and I want to, do the best I can and try to move things forward. But at least someone's talking. I mean, I see it as a positive because before, I think it's exciting that they're going to offer, scientists, civic leaders, educators, entrepreneurs. I think it's very exciting. And if I hear anything that's going to be convening, like I said, it will be really neat, I think, if it does come to pass. I've talked to them a couple times, and I guess there is going to be something in D.C., but nothing is put in writing yet, and nothing is said yet, and what's going to happen on that,
Carol, so Connie asked a question about seeing students collaborate, and there's been a little bit of a thread in our meetings today, at least in some of the conversations I've had, where when you're in a training environment, you're imposing standards. When you're in an educational environment, you're inviting participation from the learner. So I guess the question is, did you have any sense of this thought process about students being more actively involved in determining the outcome of education?
No, I didn't get that answer. Not at all. I didn't not anything at all. Oh, I just see a neat link right here. No, I didn't get that at all. I think that's the engagement. I don't think that a lot of people really understand what collaboration and this new shift in my world and what it's done for my students. I don't think people really grasp how this is so engaging. I mean, I just had a kid today that, he just happened to look at, how Google SketchUp worked on, and he couldn't wait to go home, and he was so engaged, and he's got this idea, and he's going to build his own little town. He's got I don't know how many teachers really see that excitement. I don't see, I didn't get that impression, but the people that were at the round table, I'm thinking there were only 3 of us that were teachers. Most of them were administrators, and there was, of course, a teacher that is a professor. So the engagement thing is something, I don't know. I think, I mean, as a matter of fact, one of the people I'm collaborating right now, Brenda, we've done some. It's amazing what you can do to collaborate when you finally do a project and it actually works. And well, I shouldn't say actually works; it does work. And to see the engagement of the kids and the excitement. But I didn't get that in this roundtable. I think they're more focused, like I said, on the low end child and how to get them into college.
Good. Any other questions for Carol? Yes.
Hi, Carol. I have a question for you. My name is Marcia Martis. I'm a professor at Florida State University. And that's kind of a lengthy question, so stick with me. It's about school libraries and it's about charter schools.
Oh, yeah.
So, yes. Pardon me? Oh, okay. I'm going to keep going. Is a person who's deeply involved with school libraries, I feel like they have a really strong role to play in this whole idea of engagement.
You got to talk a little slower.
Okay. I will. Talking about school libraries, talking about engagement, and the roles that school libraries have to play in providing motivation, helping to link disparate pieces of the curriculum together. And one of the things that troubled me coming out of the election rhetoric was I heard a lot of talk about charter schools. And on the face, that's not troubling, except that being a person from Michigan, my experience with charter schools is that many of them don't take advantage of having a school librarian on faculty or don't have a school library at all. And in lots of our conversations today, we've been talking about engagement, digital learning objects, learning in a Web 2.0 paradigm, and knowing that school libraries can play a very strong role in that, and that role seems to be absent from charter schools. I'm wondering if in your conversations with the new administration's education folks, if you got a feel for whether the charter school agenda might be moving forward or whether that was still open for some conversation.
Well, I can only talk to you in terms of what Arne Duncan has done before, because he's been here for a long time here in Chicago. And there are some people that are very nervous because he does like the charter school system. His children went to a charter school system. He grew up in an environment that was very charter school. So, that's sort of his, that's where he came from. And so, I mean, as a matter of fact, the Obama children went to a charter school here. So, and I feel the same way that you feel. Being an arts person, the charter schools, they don't employ music teachers. They don't employ a lot of the arts. And my concern is that, I've always said, charter schools, they can start over. So, and they can decide their own rules. And we are stuck with all the rules that were given to us. So there's a big movement, this Renaissance 2010, that is basically a charter school where they close up certain schools here and they reopen them. And I know that, like I said, it makes me a little nervous. And here again, I don't know if the federal government can be involved in that. I think we have to still go back to, schools are a state's rights, and we have to be sort of understanding that. I think what the government can do, this is just my own thing, is the resources. I think that's where we can really make an even playing field. We can offer some resources, and we can offer some hardware and software to enable children to do some of the cool stuff that we're doing. So that's my sense.
You couldn't hear it, but there was a thank you for that.
Oh, okay.
Any other questions from anybody online? There's a good one.
Which one? I saw one. Was it Judy had one?
Judy says, Carol, now that you've had a chance to participate in this discussion, do you have any questions you would like to ask Arne Duncan or the President if you had the opportunity?
Well, I always talk about magic wand. If we had a magic wand, what would I do? And I think this has been a permeating thing. I see what the Internet and what the connections can do. And I think that we're giving these $100 laptops to people in third worlds. I think if we can really put the resources in the schools and we can really put forth the connections and see some of the connections happen, I think that's how we're going to move our education ahead. And this is just my own little thing, is that, we talk a lot about everything is focused on college, and I know people get really upset with me when I say this, but there are some things and some jobs that really don't demand college. They demand a skill. They demand, we're always going to, I talk about this a lot, we're always going to need someone to cut our hair or to, we're going to need someone to, paint the houses and do all this. We're going to need people to work on the computers and not necessarily a college environment. And we need to look at how we educate everyone. Everyone's going to have to learn how to run a computer. Everyone's going to have to learn how to do stuff online. Everyone's going to have those 21st century skills, how to make a movie, how to do a podcast. I mean, my sister just a couple of years ago had to do in order to get a job, she had to do a PowerPoint presentation with all the different bells and whistles in it. And everyone's going to have those skills. And they're going to have to know how to run a cash register that has all the bells and whistles with technology. And my concern is that we're still caught up in doing facts. We still, want to be able to teach all the, and not that that's wrong. We have to have some facts, but we also have to be able to engage these students in their technology and being able to use the Internet and being able to do stuff, and getting a lot of these students don't even have they have no computer time but 30 minutes a week. Now those kids are going to be way behind as composed to some of my students who have the one-to-one where they basically have a laptop for 24/7. So we have to really look at that. That's where I think the government can get involved, so that we still have our local control, but we can get a lot of hardware and information out to the students that way. That's my magic wand.
So Mary has a comment.
Hi, Carol. Mary Hinton. I'm with National Middle School Association. I hear the concerns or comments about not everybody's going to college, and the comments of people here, yeah, I need to be a plumber, etc. But the reality is, preparation to matriculate into college is a benchmark that all of our students need to be at, because that benchmark does assure that a student is going to be able to move into the workplace and earn a living that supports a family, that is going to put that person on a trajectory to succeed in a democracy, in our economy. And so I hear what people are saying about, not everyone is going to go to college, but let's not forget that preparation to be at that benchmark is what needs to be in place, and we do need to aim for that. And so the examples that you were giving there a few minutes ago, I think move in that direction. Yeah, the critical thinking skills, being able to, to analyze, to work in a variety of different settings, et cetera, et cetera. But, I just want to make sure that we're paying attention to that as an important benchmark.
Don't misunderstand me. I think that people need to be educated. I just think that we need to look more closely at that there's other options. I mean, right now, there are people, someone talked about this, there are people that are, putting out $125,000 worth of loans and and have no job, and they're out there, the only job they can get is $10 an hour, whereas there are other people that have skills, and they're going out and they're becoming a plumber, and they're making 6 figures, and we don't value that. and they're still educated. I don't want. We can have high standards. I mean, everyone. But I think we need to look at this as an overall, like you said, for society. Let's look at what society needs. And I think, here I am, the arts person. There are some things that we should maybe cut out that we don't really need. I mean, but we still need to educate, and everyone needs to be able to talk and write and have those high benchmarks. But we still need to be excited about those people going into those other careers. And right now, the whole benchmark thing is all college, and that's what I'm talking about. So, but I totally agree that we need to have, high standards.
Carol, I think that's. We want to thank you for being with us tonight. It's really been fun for us. It's been great to hear. I think we all feel like we've learned something about what's taking place, and gave us an opportunity to think about these topics. I'm going to clap too. You can hit the little clapping button to indicate your
I see Brenda.
appreciation for Carol. I'm going to turn off the video right now, but don't get off the line, Carol. I just want to make everybody aware that on February 11th, I'm going to be talking to Julie Evans from Project Tomorrow, what used to be the Net Speak Up Day, on the 2008 survey of what students are saying about technology and education. On February 17th, Aaron Riley from Project New Media at MIT Media Labs will be talking with us. And then on February 26th, in conjunction with PBS, we'll be talking to John Palfrey, who co-authored the book Born Digital. And he's I think he's the director of the Berkman Center. So we have some fun things coming up. For more information about the series, please look at futureofeducation.com. For more information about Knowledge Works, please visit their website listed there. And for information about Illuminate, at illuminate.com. So thanks, Carol. Thanks, everybody, for coming. It's been a lot of fun. I'll put up the archives and recordings probably sometime tomorrow. And please join us again. Thanks, Carol.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Mm-hmm.